Hey, what's going on guys? RVZ Stealth here, and in today's video, I'm going to give you my opinion on the best Mage champions for Season 4, patch 4.16. First up, I have Xerath. Pros to Xerath are, he has super long range. When he hits max rank in his ultimate, it's basically half the map, and you can use that to pick off enemies really well. If you use a Scrying Orb on Xerath, then you'll be able to do that. And his Q, as well as his W, also have really long range, so he's good to poke down enemies, and he fits really well into a siege comp. He has really strong wave clear, he has decent CC in his E and his W, and he's really hard for the enemy to zone him because of his long range. He'll always be able to CS in lane. And he's a really good lane bully because he can stay back really far and still poke his enemies down. Well, they won't be able to do any damage to him. And he's really mana healthy because of his passive. Every about 10 or 12 seconds, I'm not sure the duration on it, but he gains a certain amount of mana back. And if he hits a champion, or he gains mana back by auto-attacking a minion or a champion, and he gets more mana by auto-attacking a champion, which makes him stay really mana healthy in lane. And cons to Xerath are, well, he does have no mobility, so if you get to late game and you're not very good with your positioning as Xerath, then you're probably going to get blown up by an enemy assassin. And all of his abilities are skill shots, so like I always say, if you're not good at landing skill shots, then Xerath probably isn't your champion. And he does require good positioning in teamfights because you want to be able to stay far back and use your ultimate, but at the same time, you don't want an enemy to jump on you while you're using your ultimate, so you just got to be very careful about where you're positioning yourself and making sure that you're at a safe distance from your enemies. Next up, I have Ziggs. So pros to Ziggs are he has really long range, just like Xerath. He fits well into a poke siege comp, exactly like Xerath, and he has pretty good CC with his E and his W. He does have mobility with his W, so it makes it easy to escape ganks from the enemy jungler. He's got really good AoE damage because of his ultimate, or all of his abilities are AoE, but his ultimate is a really big AoE ability, so that's really good for team fighting. And he's a strong lane bully because he's got really good poke. He's great at zoning. For example, if you're taking Dragon or Baron, you can toss down your Mine and your Satchel, and you can just zone your opponents out from the pit, or you can keep them in the pit by putting your abilities down there. And he's got super strong wave clear, or premium wave clear with his ultimate. He can use that to clear out an entire wave, and he doesn't even have to be near the wave, so that makes him really strong as well. Cons to Ziggs are he is skill shot reliant, and he doesn't really have single target burst damage. He relies on poking his enemies down and then finishing them off with his ultimate. He's not like Syndra or LeBlanc who can just absolutely blow up a champion in a matter of seconds. So next up I have Ryze. Pros to Ryze are he is a tanky mage, and he's probably the only tanky mage in the game because he can still do a lot of damage while being really hard to kill at the same time. And he also does guaranteed damage because all of his abilities are point and click. So if you're looking for an easy mage champion, then definitely pick up Ryze. He can easily duel any mage in the game come late game because he's so tanky, but he still does so much burst damage. He's got good poke in lane with his Q, and that's on a really short cooldown. He has insane wave clear, especially late game, because his ultimate's only on a 30-second cooldown, so he's got really good wave clear with that. And he's super easy to play and scales really well into the late game, so once you hit your 4 or 5 items on Ryze, he becomes a monster. Cons to Ryze are he has low mobility. I wouldn't really count his ultimate as mobility, so he doesn't really have anything. He's easy to shut down, and he needs his items. Once you get to late game with Ryze, he's really strong, but early game, he's not very strong at all because he scales with mana, so you need to get your tier stacking, and you need to get your Rod of Ages stacking before he can do a lot of damage. Next, I have Orianna. Pros to Orianna are she has an insane ultimate, and if you can get that off in a team fight and get it on 3 or multiple targets, then it's gonna sway the team fight in your favor most of the time. She scales really well into the late game, and she has good wave clear with her Q and her W. She has a safe laning phase because of her shield, and she has really her trades early game. Sorry guys, I can't speak right now. She has really good trades early game because her E, it gives her a shield, so she can just use her auto attacks, which are quite strong early game because of her passive, to out-trade her opponents. And she's got really good utility. Her W and her E are really strong utility abilities. And she can win teamfights single-handedly. Like I said, if you can get a multi-man ultimate off, then it's really gonna sway the teamfight in your favor. Cons to Orianna is she is quite mana hungry. You pretty much need a blue buff on Orianna early game if you're going to be using your abilities quite often. And come late game, it's not too much of an issue if you build a tier, but early game, definitely try to get your jungler to give you blue buff because it will help you out a lot. So last but not least, I have Syndra. And pros to Syndra are she has unbelievable burst. She probably has the highest burst combo, or the biggest burst combo in the game other than maybe LeBlanc. She is a press R to win champion in my opinion. I just hate it when I'm playing against a Syndra and she uses her Q, stuns me, and I basically know I'm dead because with 2 spheres on the ground, and if she uses her ultimate, then she's just gonna burst you down so quickly. She has insane pick potential because of her long range stun, and she has really strong CC in her stun and her W. She is a good lane bully with her Q and her W, and she scales quite well into the late game. She is fairly easy to win lane with, in my opinion, and she counters a lot of melee champions because she can just poke them down and they won't be able to CS, and then she can just zone them from there. She has really strong wave clear with her Q and her W, and she's just, in my opinion, the best mage in League of Legends at this point, or at this time. And cons to Syndra are good Fizz players can counter her pretty hard because if Syndra is channeling her ultimate, all Fizz has to do is use his E and it will completely negate the damage. So a good Fizz player can definitely counter Syndra pretty hard. And she is quite mana hungry like Orianna, so getting that blue buff from your jungler is very beneficial. She does need her items because the main goal of Syndra is to burst down your champion, or burst down a single target really quickly, and if she doesn't have her items, then she probably won't be able to do that. And she doesn't have any mobility, so you have to be careful about your positioning and just make sure that you're staying far enough back in team fights. So that's all for the video, guys. If you enjoyed, then as always, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're wondering why I didn't include a certain champion on this list, then be sure to comment asking me why below, and I will be sure to get back to you on that. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next video.